News continues with our top local stories on Michiana's Morning News. Forest River has announced the passing of its founder, Peter Liegl.
Forest River describes Liegl as not only a visionary leader who transformed the RV industry, but one of Indiana's proudest citizens and most generous philanthropists. Liegl worked his way from the ground up in the RV industry, from production and operations, customer service, sales and management. He learned it all. He worked his way to the role of president at Midas Motorhomes, Shasta, and then co-founded Cobra Industries. When Cobra went public, Pete left and began to grow Forest River from the ground up. In 2005, Liegl sold Forest River to Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, but still continued at the helm of the company every single day. Liegl is survived by his wife Sharon, daughter, son-in-law, and grandchildren and brother-in-law. Victor Garcia, MNC News.
Buffett, meantime, spoke about Liegl during a Q&A session that happened back in 2021.
We bought a company called Forest River, run by a fellow named Pete Liegl, I'd say about 10 years ago or so, and he built up a very successful but much smaller RV business, and he sold it to a private equity firm in the mid-1990s, and they promptly started telling him how to run it, and he very shortly thereafter told them to go to hell, and not very long after that it went broke, which is not an unusual. I would have predicted that. So Pete then bought it out of bankruptcy and rebuilt it, and then came to see me about 10 years ago. And in one afternoon, we went to dinner that night. He brought his wife and his daughter, and we bought the business. He made me a couple of promises then. He's very limited as promises. I told him what I'd do, and we've lived happily ever after. I've never been to Forest River. It's based in Elkhart, Indiana. I hope it's there. I mean, maybe they're just making up these figures. I can see that. Some guys say, what figures shall we send Warren this month? Ha, ha, ha. But, Pete does a terrific job of running the company. We made a deal at the time he came. He's built the company to where it'll do over $4 billion of business this year. I've probably had 3 or 4 phone calls with him in the whole time. It's his company, and he does a sensational job.
Yeah, and when they say he worked, he really did. Credited again with working all the way through this year. Most weeks showing up all 7 days in the week. Checking crime news this morning. Arrests made in connection with 2 stabbing incidents Monday in Elkhart. One happened in the 1200 block of South Main. The 49-year-old victim was taken to the hospital with possible life-threatening injuries. Officers found the 26-year-old suspect in the 1300 block of Eden Street. The other incident happened at the Baymont Inn on Brittany Court. On scene, police encountered a woman who was stabbed. Fortunately, she suffered just minor injuries. Police arrested the suspect in the 900 block of Markle Avenue. Much colder temperatures coming beginning today.
Temperatures will reach the 40s that day with some parts of the state in the 30s. That's because there's a system right now in the plains making its way toward Indiana. By Thursday, you could wake up with snow on your lawn.
Worst case scenario, maybe around an inch or so, maybe a little bit more for portions of the area, especially central Indiana and northern Indiana. Indianapolis is kind of on the line. It looks like maybe some minor accumulations.
Randy Bowers from the National Weather Service in Indianapolis says the heavy snow will fall east of Rushville from Anderson to Muncie. Ryan Hedrick, Network, Indiana.
Now, 95.3 MNC watching your money. The price of gas a bit lower as of late. So what can you expect heading into the winter?
IU economist Kyle Anderson expects prices to slowly keep dropping, barring the usual increases around holidays.
It will probably pick up a little around Thanksgiving and around Christmas as people do take those out-of-town trips.
He tells Wish TV that gas prices are always hard to predict, but he says factors like falling inflation and also conflicts in the Middle East and Europe always play a role.
And that's Kurt Darling reporting. Now, the very latest is flyers from the Ku Klux Klan have been found in some Goshen neighborhoods.
Kentucky-based Trinity White Knights of the KKK have claimed responsibility for the flyers that were found Monday morning and Sunday night. The flyers call for a mass deportation of immigrants from the U.S. Goshen Mayor Gina Lichty released a statement saying the city stands united against any form of discrimination, intimidation, or harassment. Morgan Hopkins, MNC News.
A driver who sideswiped a state trooper's car, then fled the scene on I-65, was arrested over the weekend after being found with a loaded gun, cocaine, and alcohol in his vehicle.
34-year-old DeAndre Jamal Green of Gary was stopped after the hit and run. Troopers discovered a handgun in his waistband, a half-empty bottle of Hennessy, and suspected cocaine in his car. The suspect, who showed signs of intoxication, refused a chemical test but was later subjected to a court-ordered blood draw. He faces multiple charges, including possession of cocaine with a firearm, operating while intoxicated, and leaving the scene of a crash.
2 men accused of an Elkhart bank robbery earlier this year have appeared in court once again.
61-year-old Tyrone Hunt and 43-year-old Melvin Levy were arrested on March 14th on charges of robbery and resisting law enforcement in connection with an incident at Fifth Third Bank on North Main Street in Elkhart. Police responded to a robbery in progress after 9:30 a.m., where witnesses claimed one man forcefully brought the bank manager and another employee from their offices to teller counters, where they were demanded to withdraw almost $8,000 in cash. Using surveillance footage, officers located a suspect vehicle, and as they approached, 2 men fled on foot. Hunt allegedly told police he and Levy were responsible for the robbery, but Levy reportedly denied involvement. According to the Goshen News, Levy's trial was continued to April 7th as the state noted intent to file a habitual criminal offender enhancement on him. Hunt pleaded guilty to robbery and resisting law enforcement and will be sentenced on December 12th. Alyssa Foster, MNC News.
Now 95.3 MNC watching your economy. Indiana's unemployment rate in October was 4.4%, which is 0.3 of a point higher than the national jobless rate. Industries that experienced the most job increases in October were leisure and hospitality. According to the Indiana Department of Workforce Development, there are more than 93,000 job postings throughout the state. Well, another side effect of the economy, as IU Health has announced some job cuts.
The Indianapolis Business Journal is reporting that IU Health officials have announced a restructuring transition from 6 regions to 4 will result in job cuts of about 100 mostly non-clinical leadership positions. The announcement comes nearly 2 weeks after the health system reported $173 million in operating income for the first 3 quarters of 2024, a 32% decrease from last year.
That's Terry D. reporting. Lincoln Elementary School in LaPorte's going to close for good at the end of the school year. The LaPorte School Board voted unanimously in front of a large crowd during their meeting earlier this week. Superintendent Dr. Sandra Wood says they know it's a difficult decision. 3 other elementary schools will remain open. New this morning on MNC, a federal program for infrastructure improvements has awarded Indiana rail lines almost $40 million in grants for major projects across the state.
William Wong with the Federal Railroad Administration says some very needed projects will benefit from the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements grants.
The 122 funded projects will upgrade track and rail crossings, repair and replace bridges, add environmentally friendly locomotives to fleet, and they will make rail transportation safer and more reliable.
Agency officials say the projects will help grow America's freight and passenger rail network, moving goods and people more quickly and efficiently. Derek Decker, MNC News.
And Potato Creek State Park closed yesterday for a controlled deer hunt. It was the first of 2 hunting periods. The second hunting period will take place December 2nd and 3rd. To help manage the deer population, only licensed hunters who have been pre-selected to participate can do that. The park has reopened to the public this morning.
Mostly cloudy with scattered showers by the afternoon, highs upper 40s, dropping to around freezing tonight with rain changing to snow, gradually warming to the upper 30s Thursday with a slow transition to a mix. Any accumulations look light with some slush on the roads possible, feeling like the teens at times tomorrow. Scattered showers could linger into Friday as we warm to the low to mid 40s. Looking dry for the weekend with a gradual warm up. I'm WSBT 22 meteorologist Jessica Burns.
The winter forecast calls for the possibility of more snow. You can prepare now by getting winter weather text alerts to your cell phone. Text the word weather to 574-2595, 95.3.
Podcasts by Federated Media.